right, we will just wait a minute here until we see some people logging in.
Okay. Is my audio okay? Because I don't have my earbud.
Let me just mute this one here. There we go. All right, I see some people joining. People always love, my viewers are very outspoken, so they're like, I love her. So that's always nice when I have people on that I actually like. Doesn't always happen, but hey guys, I see you. Progressive Update, Cirrus, thanks for joining. So, of course, this is the incredible Dr. Victoria Dooley. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Oh, thank you for offering to have me again. I know we've been trying to get some dates, so thank you for being patient with me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't believe, Facebook memories are so interesting. I can't believe that was a year ago.
Oh, wow, was it?
It's absolutely crazy. It's crazy. I never would have guessed that.
Yes.
So a little bit's changed since then. And I don't know if you saw, this is breaking news. I'm so excited. Pandemics raging, all-time high numbers, but this just in from Senator Dianne Feinstein, the Senate just passed two resolutions that Senator Kamala Harris and I introduced, congratulating the Lakers and the Dodgers on bringing championships back to Los Angeles. Under unprecedented circumstances, these teams went all the way. Congratulations! Yay!
This is a spoof.
I'm so glad this is our new VP. Oh my God, priorities. That's amazing.
Yes, yes.
So as a doctor, I know how furious people like myself get, but as a doctor, when you see stuff like that and all the turmoil that's going on, what goes through your head?
It's not just as a doctor, it's just as a decent human being. But that's a problem when we elect these out of touch politicians who have no sense of reality, who have health care, who have a ton of money in the bank, who wear designer clothes. It's just they have no sense of reality. Whereas what I do, I am beholden to my patients. I have to give them all good care. And so we elect these people to represent us, and they end up representing just the wealthiest individuals. And it's just so incredibly frustrating, considering that the times that we're going through and the hardships, all the people I love and care about. My practice, everybody comes in my doors like family to me. And so not only seeing blood family, but my family of patients that I care for and how much they're suffering during this time. And to basically have to accept that we're going back to normal when we deserve and need so much more is so very frustrated. It's like, can we get some monthly UBI during this pandemic? I mean, what today, like Mayor Lightfoot said, Chicago's going to go on lockdown. The holidays are coming up. They want everybody to stay home, cancel Thanksgiving, but can we get some monthly stimulus checks so that we can stay home safely? No. So it's just such a joke what they expect us to do, but they are not empowering us and giving us the resources to do it as a society. It's very frustrating.
Absolutely. And, as far as your patients, are you seeing people who maybe are diagnosed with COVID, but they can't afford to go in the hospital or things like that?
Well, if somebody's really sick and they need to go in the hospital for COVID, usually they're going to go and deal with the bills afterwards. But what I'm seeing is with this, they gave us this myth about free COVID testing for everybody, right? Well, it's really not free. I got a $200 free COVID test at the ER. It was before the tests were as readily available as they are now. Because I'm a healthcare provider, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't sick, even though I didn't really have a lot of symptoms. But you hear on the radio, oh, come get your free COVID test at the ER, just drive on through. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get my free COVID test. But because it was a free COVID test at a drive-through ER, which I never set foot in the ER, basically drove by it, never set one foot inside the ER, never even talked to a doctor, just somebody who typed my information into the computer, swabbed me, and then I went. $200. So my test would have been free if it wasn't at the ER. So my story isn't unique. There are a ton of people who are getting bills for these free COVID tests. And God forbid you want a rapid test instead of the test that might take a few days. Then there's places that are flat out refusing to bill insurance, just making you cough up $100 cash up front. So the biggest thing about COVID bills is we still have many obstacles as testing, as far as we have more tests, but we could use even more. And then this myth of this free, and depending on where you go and what lab you use, people are still getting bills for these free COVID tests, which is really frustrating. And if they are getting hospitalized, there are potentially still some charges that they might have to incur, even if it's not the whole bill, which is very frustrating. And then because the tests aren't 100% accurate, I'm seeing this other problem of a lot of people who I feel like they have COVID. They have all the symptoms of COVID, but because their rapid test was negative and it has a pretty high false negative rate, they're not getting that COVID as a diagnosis. And so then they're having to pay for that visit. But then I'm seeing them days later because they really did have COVID. That test was just falsely negative. And so they went thinking they had COVID. They did have COVID, but that rapid test was falsely negative. So they ended up getting charged for that visit when it really was COVID and they shouldn't have been charged. So ultimately, it's just a mess. And you and I, we know what would be the solution to this mess, right? It would be a single payer system, Medicare for all system, no copays, no deductibles, and probably not the informed viewers of your podcast, but there's still some people who think, well, Medicare isn't perfect. And when we talk about Medicare for all, we're talking about a new and improved form of Medicare that eliminates copays, eliminates deductibles, eliminates that the donut hole or whatever seniors have to pay down for their prescriptions. We're talking about a new and improved Medicare for all system that eliminates all costs at the point of care.
Absolutely. And just Twitter today, I'm not a fan of Barbara Lee because she came out and endorsed Kamala during the primaries, which just but today she came out and said everyone deserves access to healthcare. I'm like, it's like people like, I don't understand. It's still, if we are in a pandemic and cannot have a serious discussion about Medicare for all, do you think there's any hope on the horizon, or do you think it'll be like 10 years from now? Or
I think there's hope, but there's still a lot of work to do. We have to keep talking about it. It's became popular, right? So now they want to tell us that, the leftists almost cost Biden the election and defunding the police is not popular, but you don't stop talking about good ideas because they're not popular, allegedly. I mean, that's the reason why you keep talking about them, because it's a good idea, right? So if it's a good idea, you keep talking about it until it does become popular. So I think that there is hope based on the outcome of this election. There's not as much hope as I would like, but at the end of the day, those were the two major party choices, and it was what it was. But I think it is possible. The frustrating part to me is 2020 has been awful for a large amount of people. Apparently not everybody, because tons of people voted for Trump. But for many people, this past 4 years of this Trump presidency had just been awful. I cannot imagine in my brain what more it could possibly take to get some of these politicians on board. So if it has to take something worse than what we've been through, not only in these past 4 years, but in this past 12 months during this pandemic, or 9 months or 8 months or whatever, it's kind of scary to me that it's going to take a lot more than a global pandemic for politicians to get on board. But it doesn't make me any less hopeful, because at the end of the day, we have to hold on to hope, because it's the right thing.
Absolutely. Bernie just came out the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, and he said, what was the number? 112 co-sponsors of Medicare for all won their race. And that was like literally all 112 that won, which is incredible. So the people who say, Oh, progressives cost down ballots. No, we actually kicked ass in down ballots. Biden kicked, Biden's the one that hurt down ballots. Sorry.
Yes.
Um, but and I saw an article with Biden. One of my concerns was with the ACA. As you stated, I've been in healthcare over 10 years. I know that ACA has done good things, and repealing it would be disastrous, like
Absolutely.
without question. But
Yes.
one of my concerns was putting the tax mandate on again, and Biden said he's open to that. So you're charging people because they can't afford.
Instead of, Joy, this is like a problem. The problem is huge, right? It's a huge problem. Uninsurance, and even more so than that, underinsurance, copays, deductibles, people rationing insulin, people who have insurance but have these huge out-of-pocket fees. So this is a huge problem. But if we break this problem down to the basic bits, it has such a simple solution that a 6-year-old would be able to solve. If you said to them, hey, here's the problem. Some people living in the wealthiest nation in the world don't have health insurance. What do you think we can do to help these people? A 6-year-old is going to say, well, I don't know, just give it to everyone. It's that simple of a solution. And it's not like we have to invent the wheel here. You can look to any other developed nation in the world and try to find a model that you want to parallel to make it happen. So it's something that's happening all over the world. And we, the greatest nation, the wealthiest nation, number one, we can't come up with a solution to this problem. We can't afford it. Study after study will prove that Medicare for all will actually save money, will be lower drug prices. We get rid of the profiteering of the middleman. It's actually going to lower healthcare costs. It's something we absolutely can't afford. But we just have to convince our politicians. And what we're going to need to do is to convince more. Voting is not all the answer to everything. Oh, police brutality, just vote magically. That meme that you shared with me, racism is cured because Joe Kamala. That's BS. You know that. But we do need to get more people who don't typically vote to vote, so that next time we won't have two choices like Joe versus Trump. Next time we can have one of the options be somebody who does support Medicare for all, who does support canceling all student debt, no means tested policies. So we do have to engage more non-voters, but we're not going to do that with fear. We're going to have to do that by motivating them, giving them something to vote for and not to vote against.
Nina, yeah, I agree. I don't know if she saw my post. She follows me, but I don't know if she saw it. But I wrote in her and Bernie. I was like, he's my president, she's my VP. I don't know if they support it, but that I had to, because I just couldn't do anything else. And Medicare for all was one of the reasons why.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was like,
And
that's my last chance to vote for my man.
His COVID task force, who did he leave out? Nurses. Where Senator Sanders was endorsed by the nurses union, how he had the round table that I was fortunate enough to be part of when he was in Detroit, that included a representative from the nurses union, and you put together your pandemic team and there's no nurse on it. It's like he's not even in office and he's already doing things wrong, and it's just very frustrating.
And yeah, that's the thing. It's like, that's one of the things I loved about Bernie's criminal justice plan. He worked with people who had been incarcerated.
Yes.
People of color helped him write that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what else makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
You have nurses and doctors help you write it's really just not that complicated, you would think.
You would think. But the amount of oversight in that task force is just so telling and of where his priorities are, and so frustrating, and evidence that we do have a lot of work to do, that it is absolutely not time to go back to brunch, that our work is not done. But again, the fact that some of these ideas that maybe 5 to 10 years ago weren't popular are popular now, I think is very hopeful, very, very hopeful.
I agree. And we owe Bernie for that, honestly. I mean, no candidates would be talking about this stuff, especially presidentially, if
Right.
Bernie didn't bring it up in 16. Um, and now that it's household terms, now,
Yes.
another thing yesterday was veterans, or everybody was celebrating veterans yesterday. And I made a post about my cousin who's 26 years old, who ended up doing 3 tours in Iraq and committing suicide. And he's one of 22 people a day, 22 veterans a day. Now, could he have gotten help had he had Medicare for all? Couldn't he have gotten his psychiatry appointments, things like that? It's the same thing. People with mental health would be so much better off. Anxiety would be better.
Absolutely.
Homelessness would be better. I mean, it's all cyclical. It's all related.
It is.
Um,
And when you think why some people, not all people, we appreciate people who serve, but the reasons why some people choose to serve is because they know they can't afford college. So
yes.
that might be one of the only ways that they, from their economic background, can afford college. And that in itself is so sad. We need less veterans. We need to spend less money trying to bomb poor countries and brown people, and to invest in the people that live here in the United States. The military budget is a joke. Everyone who was so allegedly so anxious to get Trump out of office, but they would all vote to support his increases in the military budget. It is just so frustrating. And so we need to have community resources for people so that they can go into all fields of their choice based off of the reasons that they want to, because they want to, not based off of financial reasons and financial decisions. And when you look at something like healthcare, I'm very passionate about addressing health disparities. Health disparity is when people of color or one particular ethnic group has worse outcomes in a particular illness. And it's factorial systemic racism and injustice and et cetera. But I lost my train of thought. One of the problems is we need more people of color in the field of medicine. Black people specifically have numerous reasons to be distrustful of the healthcare system. All the experiments and things that were done to us as people, and slavery and everything. And so studies actually show that Black patients do better in general when they have a doctor that looks like them. But when you look at the insurmountable cost of just becoming a physician, $350,000 for the crime of you wanted to be a doctor. These aren't pennies. It shouldn't be an obstacle. And when you look at teachers, right, nobody would be who they were if somebody didn't teach them, and how they are underpaid and underappreciated, and how we underpay them and make them take on this huge amount of debt just so that they can have the pleasure of teaching our children. And some of the conditions that we're making them work under during this pandemic, it's just so tragic. If you love essential workers, if you love the teachers, if you love the doctors and the nurses, one of the best things you can do for them is not have an appreciation day where you send out a whole bunch of tweets. You know what? Say, you went into this field that you're passionate about. You are an essential worker. We love you. We care about you. We are going to cancel all that debt that you incurred to get to this point where I can stay at home and work from my computer. But if I get sick, I know that you're going to be there for me. That's what we're going to do for you. We're going to cancel all student debt.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. There is some talk with a vaccine coming out, and also well, the weird thing was, I know you touched on free tests, which I hear all the time from people, but why did Pfizer come out and say it would be like $3,700 or something if it's supposed to be free? Don't you think
Oh,
it's
why, Joy?
that?
Because
Well, I know why,
but but ultimately, if this vaccine is going to cost a lot of money and it's going to be new, I mean, there's already a ton of conspiracy theories going around, which are all not true. I would like to make that very clear. It's going to be hard to get people to get the vaccine. I mean, even if the vaccine was free, I believe last time I looked, one survey said 50% of people just aren't going to trust it, aren't going to want to get it. So a vaccine is going to be helpful, but it's not going to be any immediate relief for the vast amount of people. You can't force people to wear a mask. So you certainly can't force them all to get vaccinated. But it shouldn't even be a discussion. Of course, it should be free. All COVID-related care and preventative treatment, including vaccines, should be free, but not just because it's COVID-related, but it's because all care in this wealthy nation should be free. So I'm hopeful that the vaccine is going to be as good as they say it is. But right now we're looking at the pharmaceuticals data, and ultimately their goal is to make profits. So I'm hopeful that it's going to be as efficacious as they say it is, but it is definitely not going to make life return to normal within a matter of months. It's just not going to happen.
Absolutely. And what do you, as a doctor, what is your opinion on mask mandate?
I think it is crucial that we wear masks, but I think what would be better is if we had a government who was willing to pay us our income and salaries to stay home and to be safe, to give us monthly UBI checks so that we can stay home and be safe. And yes, for the people who do have to go out in public, it's important to wear a mask. The mask isn't just to protect others. It is to protect others, but it's also to protect yourself. Masks do not cause carbon dioxide levels to rise, but I wear a mask all day. Do I love wearing it? No, I don't love wearing it. Can it make you feel a little bit anxious or a little bit hot at times? Yes. But if you feel like you have a medical condition that prevents you from wearing a mask, well, you really shouldn't be out in the middle of a pandemic. If you are so sick that you can't wear a little piece of cloth over your mouth, then if you catch COVID, you're probably gonna end up dead. So you should just stay at home. So I definitely think mask wearing is crucial to getting a better hold of this pandemic. I'm frustrated by the amount of people who not only don't want to wear a mask, but wear their mask incorrectly. And I do politely and lovingly remind people how to wear masks in my office, because I have to protect my patients and myself. I have to protect those next people who come in the room when you leave. And it's the people who pull their masks down when they talk to me. They'll have their mask on. I'll go in the room, they start to talk, they pull their mask away from their face. No. That's not how it works. I can hear you. This is a small exam room. I can hear you. When you talk to me, please don't remove your mask from your face. Leave it on your face. It's a barrier. You can't move it away when you talk and all your spittle comes out. So I think it's important. Do I think it's realistic for a president to say 100% of the people have to wear their mask 100% of the time, or what? That becomes a question, right? As a doctor, do I think that's a great idea? I think that's a wonderful idea. I think 100% of people who go out in the public should wear a mask. But at the end of the day, how are you going to enforce that? So we need other safeguards for individuals. Like I said, we need the UBI and other help. We need to cancel the rent and mortgages. We need other help for people to motivate them to stay home and to stay safe. That's what we need.
Absolutely. Yeah, my friend, when we go food shopping or something, if someone has it down, if then their nose sticking out, she'll be like, "That guy has his penis sticking out," and she'll just yell. And I'm like, "Oh my God!" But there's a meme that says, "If you wear your underwear like this, that's what you look like." But yeah, it's so simple to just put a mask on, but you always see people with them down, and like, what's the point if you're not going to do it correctly?
Not fun. But if you cannot leave your mask on long enough to go to the doctor, go to the grocery store, whatever the thing is you need to do, you probably should not be doing that. Well, you definitely should not be doing that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Can't read my writing. Oh, okay. So you posted a video 4 days ago of this woman who is such a badass and so amazing. And let me see what it was called. It was called Disclose TV. And it was a young Black woman, and she was at a Black Lives Matter protest, and she was talking about people going there and putting like Biden signs over
the names of I remember that video.
So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing people conflate BLM with first female Black vice president and just kind of acting like it kind of cancels out.
Right, which I don't understand, because anybody who's doing that should be old enough to remember when we had an actual Black president, not vice president, but Black president. And
when Black Lives Matter was created.
Right. So the fact that individuals are doing this who are old enough to remember that this movement was still around when we had a Black president is pretty frustrating. And it just speaks on how much more education we need about systemic and institutional racism in this country, and how these empty platitudes like naming a street Black Lives Matter, but not, defunding the police, how the, wearing the kente cloth and kneeling, but, not legalizing marijuana and expunging the records from the racist war on drugs. It just shows you how empty some of these things are. And it's very frustrating for me as a mom of two Black boys who are big, Joy, they're big for their age, because their dad is tall. And just to think that my baby is 13, but he's bigger than me. He's 13. He's tall. He's a big kid. He's not fat. He's tall. He's big. But if you look at his face, he's got the cutest little baby face and big eyes like his mom. So he's a baby. And just to think that because my son is taller than me and bigger than me, and he loves to wear hoodies, even though he's got a baby face, if he's walking with some kid who's white, who's exact same size, he's going to be treated a lot differently. It's frustrating. And when people discount the life that people of color live and the amount of privilege that they have just based off their skin color with these empty platitudes, and oh yay, we have a biracial Black and Indian vice president, everything is happy now. It's very frustrating. And when I say privilege for a white person, we need to end this myth of conflating privilege with meaning wealth. But somebody will say, well, I grew up in the trailer park and I was poor. What privilege do I have? And my 15-year-old, he's taken a class and they had to do an assignment about stop and frisk. And he learned about how the majority of people who were stopped and frisked, guess what color they were? Were they white or were they Black and brown? They were Black and brown, right? So when I say privilege, you have the privilege to just walk down the street and probably not be stopped and frisked. It doesn't seem like a privilege to you because it's normal, but it is a privilege to somebody who's a person of color. I read one article, I believe the amount of jaywalking tickets in New York, jaywalking, it was something astronomical, like 95% of them were given to Black and brown people, something crazy. So when I talk about white privilege, I mean, you have the privilege to jaywalk if you want to and not get a ticket. But if you're Black and brown, you don't. That's the type of little stuff that you don't even realize. So when somebody says white privilege, they're not talking about, oh, you're white, you're rich, you don't ever have any problems in your life because of the color of your skin.
Absolutely. You explained it so well. I try, but as someone who's white, it doesn't come out as well as that. It's really, especially on social media, we are seeing more racism now than like, the most in years. And it's not from Republicans. It's from Democrats. I mean, it's just unreal.
Breonna Greyjoy, Senator Turner, they experience the most vitriol on the internet. I just don't know, it's studies have shown that women of color, Black women, are the most attacked online. Even weeks after we've allegedly voted out Trump, hopefully we have, it's still Black women are the most attacked online. And it doesn't come from Bernard brothers or Bernie bros or Bernie sisters. It comes from people who claim that they mean well and are super excited about Joe and Kamala.
Absolutely. Angela Walker, who was the VP for Green, I had her on a few times and we were talking about, she gets it real bad too. And it's like, it's very, we support Black women. We want them to have their voice.
Black women when they believe what we want them to believe. That's like
not those Black women.
A select group of Black women, which is not supporting Black women at all.
Yeah, anytime you vote shame or anything like that, you're saying you believe they should shut up and obey what you think they should do, which is
Right.
sexist, racist, everything.
Even it goes down to a point. I don't mean to interrupt you, but a point like, thank you, Black women, for helping, beat Trump. Okay, you want to thank us. Well, how about we just cancel off student debt? Because canceling off student debt is a racial justice issue. Well, I don't know. Maybe don't think we should just cancel it for everyone. Maybe, like certain people with certain income. If you love and appreciate and respect and want to thank Black women, you would cancel it all because it's a racial justice issue. I'm going to tell you why. Black women have more degrees than any other color woman in this country. Black women. Okay. We usually have to pay more for student loans. We usually get higher interest rate when we get those student loans. So we are the most indebted women. And you shouldn't say to one Black woman, because she went and got a master's level degree, and so she's a nurse and she's making, almost six figures now. Well, we're this particular Black woman, we're not going to thank her. We're not going to cancel her debt. And so and the problem that I have with people saying that it's not fair, especially when it comes to white male joy, I worked hard, paid off my loans. Why should we do that? I worked hard. You did not work any harder than a Black woman to pay off your student debt. You worked whiter because of the color of your skin, and wider because you had a Y chromosome. Black women make 65 cents on the dollar or less compared to white men. So let's take that. I'm a Black woman, you're a white man. You make $1, I make 65 cents. You could put 30 of your cents from your dollar towards your student loan, 30 of it, and still make more money than me. You'd have 70 cents, I'd make 65 cents. So it is not even, so we're not comparing apples to apples. You make more because of your sex and the color of your skin. So the fact that you paid off your student debt, you don't get any accolade or praise for that. I probably would have paid off mine too if I got paid the exact same amount as you. So that's why canceling student debt is a racial justice issue. Women, all women, but especially Black and Latinx women, we don't get our whole dollar. So when we work, we don't get to have as much extra income to put towards our debt as white men do. And not only that, but we have more student debt income. So that's why canceling student debt is a racial justice issue. And that is why I am absolutely not happy with Biden's plan that does not cancel all student debt.
Absolutely. And you used the terminology a few minutes ago, means testing. Mm-hmm. That it leaves people out. Also, Medicare for all, racial justice issue. When, I used to work for Medicaid, and I would see, African Americans and Hispanic people say, I don't want Medicaid. I don't want it because people look down on me and stuff like that. And I'm scared because they send me to these places and I don't know if I'm going to get good care and things like that. And it's horrible what people go through when they should just get the same care as everyone else. End of story.
That's the whole problem of the system that we have, I'm not saying that we as individual doctors, whoever takes your insurance card makes a judgment based off of these letters on your card, because as doctors, there's certain things that we can't do with certain insurances. And why is that fair? It's not. Why are there certain drugs that I can prescribe if you have insurance A, but not if you have insurance B? So as a doctor, I might want to, and I'm sure most doctors do, treat all my patients equally, but you can't, because your hands are tied when somebody comes into the office with certain words on their insurance card that basically says they're inferior. So they can't get this newest medicine that they need because their income, and nobody should know or be able to guess what your household income is based off of some letters or words on your health insurance card. It should not happen. It should not happen. We are a wealthy nation. We can afford to take care of everyone, just like they do in every other industrialized nation in the world. And that should be the end of it.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. It is classist to make people, people feel ashamed. I don't think they should be, but I understand it. Mm-hmm. I witnessed it. That's heartbreaking. You shouldn't be afraid to go to the doctor because you're ashamed you have a Medicaid card.
Right. And not everybody It's not everybody's ashamed of Medicaid, and it's not something to be ashamed of. However, again, nobody should be able to guess your tax bracket or household income just based off of some words in your insurance card. That is not right.
Absolutely. Um, so what, a lot of us are feeling absolutely defeated for obvious reasons, and we're not exactly thrilled with the president and VP elect. What gives you hope? What do you look forward to that you think we should not completely despair?
What gives me hope? People like Cori Bush winning her race. People
Yes.
wonderful S&T, my best friend. I said she's my best friend. I didn't say I'm hers. My best friend, Senator Nita Turner. Those are the people that give me hope. The fact that Medicare for all is becoming a popular idea, that gives me hope. And at the end of the day, we have to have hope because 2020 has been a rough year. And I'm not even going to entertain the thought that 2021 could be any worse. I'm not. My brain just won't be able to handle it. So at the end of the day, as we round out this end of 2020, we have to have hope because we have all been through a rough year. And it's important to be gentle with yourself. Be disappointed. I've been disappointed. I'm mad as hell ever since, Bernie dropped out. But I wasn't mad at Bernie because he gave us so much more than he I don't think he took away anything. I think he added so much to the conversation and gave us so much. Just the people that I met because of him, lifelong friendships. I'm forever grateful. So I feel like he gave a lot more than he took from anybody. He might not have did what we wanted at the end of the day, but I am hopeful that the spark that he started, the fact that he is still supporting down ballot candidates, progressive candidates, that's very exciting. And so, yes, that's what I'm hopeful for.
Absolutely. And do you think that, I mean, this is obviously just, conjecture, but do you think he'll get some kind of position in Biden's cabinet? I don't either.
So,
I don't either.
know, but maybe I'm a pessimist. So yes, I'm hopeful, but
no, I think we're realists.
Yeah, I know. But that sure would be nice. But I mean, Biden is he wants to call himself, oh, I'm going to be your transition candidate, and, give the reins to someone younger, which you could have just did in the first place, or somebody more progressive. But anyway, we had to get Trump out. Unfortunately, we didn't get him out in the way that people like you and I wanted to, but we had to get him out. So Biden, he's doing this transition thing. Hopefully he won't muck everything up so much that we get an even worse Trump, which Senator Turner wrote a wonderful article, I believe, in the Washington Post. Did you see that? About,
yes.
We can't go back to normal because the next Trump is going to be even worse than the first. So hopefully he won't muck stuff up too bad so that we get Trump. Trump's got a lot of kids. So, hopefully he won't muck stuff up so bad that we do get a worse form of Trumpism after this first years. And we just got to do our time. It's going to be a hard time. We got to do these 4 years, but we've done harder time, right? 2000, I anticipate 2016 to 20. Hopefully it was harder time than 20 to 24 is going to be. And I'm hopeful that there's going to be somebody else to fire us up and get us excited for 2024.
Ooh. Yay. I was so honored to be on Nina's podcast for the book that my co-writer and I just wrote. And I mean, was that?
I talked about that with her. She really enjoyed that.
Oh, really? Oh, yay. Yeah, that was just such an honor. I just am so thankful for people like you and her and Bernie that you guys keep us going because so much stuff is just so depressing. So we have to be there for each other.
We do. We absolutely do. And, freedom is never going to be, who said it? Was it Martin Luther King? Yeah, Martin Luther King. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor, but it has to be demanded by the oppressed. And so I don't care what your form of oppression is. If your oppression is you don't have health care, or you did have health care and you lost it because you got fired because of the pandemic, or if your oppression is like mine, over $250,000 of student loan debt, or your oppression is, you can't get a job because you were locked up on some BS weed charges, and now, it's legal in your state. Whatever your oppression is, there are so many of us in some way, shape, or form who are oppressed. And this 0.1% is never just going to give. We have to demand it. So we can never tire of speaking up for what is good, what is right, and what is true, and what we deserve. And we deserve better than this cabinet that we were having in 2020, but it is what it is now. And we have to organize so that when 2024 comes, that hopefully we can have some better options.
Yes, please. Is there anything you would like to leave our viewers with, something to take away, a message for those watching?
Well, basically that was it. That was my ML quote about freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor, but it must be demanded by the oppressed. I just want to say I'm thankful for everybody watching today. It's okay to be in your feelings, to be frustrated sometimes about what happened. It's okay. But what is not okay is to give up and to stop fighting for somebody that we don't know. You should never tire of doing the right things. Please, please, please don't ever tire of fighting for somebody that you don't know, because the fight is not over. But I do feel like we can make progress as long as we stay together and stop arguing with each other. If somebody particularly voted for Biden because they felt like they had no other options, but that they share very leftist and liberal views, you shouldn't beat up on each other for things like that. I personally voted my conscience. At the end of the day, I had to vote my conscience for somebody who I felt was good, and somebody I respected. And, I didn't get my desired outcome, but it is what it is. And we cannot shame people whose hearts are in the right place. Everybody has their own reasons for whatever they do. So we just have to be gentle with ourselves and to be gentle with each other, and remember why we are in this. We are in this because we want Medicare for all. We are in this because we want student debt canceled. And Bernie is not going to be the person to deliver these things for us, but we were never in this as a cult because we love Bernie, right? We were in this because we love his policies, that he was speaking the truth. And so whoever is going to be the person who delivers us and gives us, speaks up for us and speaks for us, we should be willing to accept that person, whoever that might be, lovingly and with open arms.
Absolutely. And if you talk to Grandpa Bernie, give him our love. He's still many of our heroes. I interviewed his brother, Larry, last month, and he was just a delight. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we all just love him for bringing us together and giving us that free education. That's for sure.
Mhm.
But thank you so much for joining us again. I always love talking to you. You
Oh,
guys,
well, I
thanks
can't
for
this
watching.
year. We'll make sure it's not a year next time.
What's that?
We'll make sure it's not a year between
Oh,
us.
yeah. You guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't gotten Pat and my book yet, you can go to savageandpat.com. He and I are still signing. You can pick one of us. And if you use code BWHW, Bernie would have won, you get $3 off. So
Awesome.
yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you again, Dr. Dooley. Best of luck with everything you do.